Hey, what's going on everybody? Alex here with Freedom Mowers. Hope you all are doing well. We are going to be finishing up the race mower today and taking it around and doing some rips on it. I've had a few people ask me about it, and it's kind of been sitting for a while because I lost all of the footage what I was going to show you guys as far as finishing up the other side of the pulley swap and adding the handbrake and the gas pedal on here. I had a corrupt file on the SD card and I lost everything I had. So out of frustration, I kind of put this on the wayside, but I've had quite a few people ask me about it and what's going on with it, and I'm ready to dive back in. So let me show y'all kind of where we're at with this. I did end up getting a gas pedal hooked up. Now I went real hoopty on this thing. This is a door latch piece of diamond plate cut. Then I have a spring. I think I had to drill a hole in the side here and then in the plate, and then there's just a small cable that I have run through over and put on the side of the blower housing, and then put just a small little linkage to hook up to that cable. But I'll show y'all. Oh, and also a return spring for the idle. But let me hit the pedal and I'll show y'all. Works nice. Returns back. It's really smooth. So, and then what used to be the deck engagement is now the handbrake. I did just end up pretty much putting some, I guess, baling wire and like a little turnbuckle to hook to the spring. I was trying to just get something figured out, something that I could adjust if needed, and I can adjust this. And so basically just pulling forward on this now, you can see that arm pulls, and that's connected right to the brake linkage, and it actually works really well. Like if you push it more than halfway, it locks up the rear tires, so that works really well. And I'll show y'all when we get underneath. I think we are at a 3.5 inch pulley in the rear, and I believe a 6-inch pulley in the front now. What I would like to do is go ahead and get this front lowered, and what I've come up with is basically we're gonna have to take the whole front end apart. Engine's gonna have to come off. What I'd like to do is take the whole bar and move it up basically flush with the engine plate. That'll give us 2-inch drop. But what I'm gonna have to do is, there's just not enough room for me to get in here and cut and weld. So the engine's gonna have to come off. I'm gonna try to cut this flush on the seam, take all these brackets off, and then we'll be able to move that up and basically weld all the way across the top, down the sides, and some on the bottom. And then we'll have to figure out the hood brackets, getting those measured up right so that we clear. The muffler is no longer gonna work with this setup because it's gonna come up too far, and you guys can see it's gonna end up hitting. I got a pretty sweet pipe that I'm hoping we can custom fabricate here. I believe that this should work. So I'm gonna end up cutting here, and then we'll see about angles and stuff, but basically have a straight pipe out the side. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at with it. Let me get this pulled in the shop, and I got to start pulling the engine off, and then we will basically be dismantling the front end. We'll start figuring out how to fabricate dropping this down 2 inches. And just like that, engine's off. It actually took me only about 5 minutes total.
Try this with the right size socket.
And I'm getting ready to start cutting, but what I did is I just kind of pushed the axle back into that little notch that it's got, and then I took a straight edge off the frame and marked on here both sides. That way when we get this shifted up and we go to tack this into place, we can have the axle centered up. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this tray cut, and then we can kind of start fitting everything up. Also, I did notice on the side here it has these angled brackets which are going to be hitting, so we're probably going to have to notch out the sides here a little bit as well. Alright, well I went ahead and got this as level as I could with the front. I did tack the sides in on both, and it's sitting pretty good. So that should give us basically a 2-inch drop there on the front. Alright, well I finally got done getting this all the way welded up on the bottom all the way across, and I also drilled holes right through the front there. It goes all the way through that plate, so we should have no issues with the front end coming loose. I did work on for a while this morning the alignment on here. I think it's about as close as I can get it, and I've got the steering moving pretty darn free on here. Just wanted to make sure that it was all good. It did take me quite a bit of just tinkering around with adjusting the fronts here. I did snap off the arm, which I had to re-weld that whole thing up. But yeah, we should be pretty solid here on the front end. I've got this exhaust here, got to start mocking this up, so I am gonna cut it probably about 1 inch from the flange, and then gonna try to see how we want this thing to come off the side of the engine, and then we can finally get that mounted and get the engine back on. So let me get this cut, and then we'll start taking a look at some different angles we can mount this old screamer pipe. I found another piece of exhaust that I had from, I believe this came off from a opposed twin. The flange does not line up with the holes exactly, but the other flange I had did. So I'm thinking what I want to do is something like this right here. It's going to come down, and then it's going to kind of kick out to the side, and then we can I'll probably shorten this up and put that little cap on there. I think that'll look pretty sweet. So, well, it is fixing to rain outside, so I'm trying to hurry up and get this welding done. But I did get at least this all cut and tacked, so we should be sitting right about where we had this thing clocked. It's going to look pretty wild, be coming out the side and then come upwards, hopefully spitting like 75-foot flames out of this thing. So alright, well I was trying to figure out where I had left off in the last footage because it has been a little while. I did get the hood tabs mounted up, and we did put a paint job on here. Now this is the first time I've ever done camo. It did turn out pretty cool. I just cut some stencils out, and other than that, I just got some military themed colors and went to town on it. Also painted the wheels black and touched up a few spots on the frame. So this thing is looking pretty sweet in my opinion. Only thing left, I forgot to get the door because I was having some issues with the starting solenoid, but we are going to go ahead and get the jumper pack hooked up to this thing, crank it up, and let's go take this thing for a run, because I think with the 3-inch rear pulley and the 6-inch front pulley, we ought to get at least between probably 30 and 40 miles an hour out of it. I don't know how fast we're going to get going in the yard, but we're going to find out. Alright, so like I said, I've had issues with the starting solenoid, and I don't really feel like messing with it at the moment. So we're just going to jump it right off the starter. It's so bumpy. I don't even know if we got to 20. Alright guys, well we took that thing for some rips around the yard and it's pretty darn fast in my opinion. I mean, we only hit 20 in the yard just because I don't have enough room, but I guarantee this thing would hit at least 30 to 35, if not 40, just with the gearing. And you know, I got into 6th gear, but barely even got to stretch its legs. So I am not comfortable taking this thing on the road, and it is super loud with that straight pipe on there. But I just wanted to show you guys that just with a little bit of time and some effort, you can have something fun. This thing has beaten my back to death. In my younger years, I probably would have been riding this thing for hours, but yeah, it turned out pretty sweet. I'm happy with that. Got the cool custom exhaust on here, nice little paint job, and this thing rips. So I really appreciate you guys checking out the channel. We got a ton of other projects that are going to be coming up, from 0 turns to probably some different handheld equipment, some old vintage garden tractors, yard tractors. So stay tuned and make sure to hit that subscribe button if you like this kind of content. On that note, let the freedom ring, let the small engine sing. I'll see you all next time.